so lovely to hear that.
I just feel like if I drag it out a little further, right? Get a little bit. Wake up, right? Wait, hey.
You could do different levels too. Good morning, ecom.
Ecom. It's like an old church hymn. When I was growing up, my grandparents forced me into the Methodist church as much as they could, and my heathenist ways. And
Yep.
that's maybe I should make like an old church hymn out of "Good Morning Ecom."
Right. Exactly.
But then everybody would have to hear my glorious singing. And speaking of glorious, have you heard the news, Dave? Have you heard the news? It's averted.
I heard the news. Yep.
And I just want to say that you and we did a good job on that because we averted a UPS strike.
I know. I wonder if people realize that.
They were listening. UPS, they were listening. Oh, the intangible commerce guys have a good point. If we don't give the people what they need, what they want, we're not going to get packages delivered.
That's right. It's going to cause some problems.
We don't want that.
I was going to say my opening line for the strike being averted is any bowler that was bowling UPS is happy because UPS did not get a strike.
That's right. That's right.
See that?
It's the biggest deal in the history of the Teamsters. This thing's worth $30 billion.
Amazing.
That's a big number. I looked up, and I don't know, of course, pie in the sky, right? It's how much of UPS is already spending on labor. What's his increased percentage? If I'm being honest, I didn't look at that. So I'm just going to take a raw number. I'm going to do what the news does. I'm going to say out of UPS's revenue in 2022 was $100 billion. This deal's worth $30 billion. What does that mean for investors, Dave?
Should mean something. That's for sure. It should mean something. I didn't see the details of it. I just like the fact that we don't have to deal with the fallout of what would have happened.
I mean,
selfishly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Would that have made where if they went on for months, would it made hard to get packages? And
would have been terrible.
I don't know.
Well, I'll give you an example on that. My wife is getting ready to send off some documents and this insurance thing she's got to do. And I was like, well, how are you going to ship those out? And she's like, well, I guess I'll just go UPS. I was like, I don't know. You might want to go USPS on this one.
I do wonder, do you think because of all the rumblings that it cost them some business over the last, I don't know, couple months?
It had to have. Now, I didn't look at the stock price on UPS if it had a flutter or not. I'm going to go ahead and look up that stock price if you want to come up with something to say while I'm doing that.
No, I have nothing. I have no time filler other than I suspect that it did have an impact because I would have done the same thing. In fact, I had a conversation yesterday with somebody. We were talking about a company that we used for a lot of stuff we buy mutually. And same thing came up because it seemed like things were shipping faster. And we said, I wonder why, if they're trying to get things ahead of a potential strike, get them out the door and stuff.
It's interesting. I wonder if it did have an impact. So I'm looking at the numbers now, and we had a bit of a fluctuation. I'm looking at the 1 week impact. Now, leading up to this strike, the numbers actually been falling forward, let's call it, because it's got some peaks and valleys, but it's the peaks are much larger than the valleys. Now, that being said, when the news broke yesterday that this strike is going to be averted with this deal, their stock price took a massive hit. It went from 191.34 all the way down to 184.31 in the span of an hour and a half. It kind of climbed a little bit back up to the 186s. But then it went back down again. Right now we're sitting, and of course the market's just getting open, but we're sitting at about 185. So interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, it's definitely something that we talked about it a few times at least, and it was always in the back of our mind, and I did not want to know what a world would be like where you're down to basically two shippers and one main shipper. I'll say. I mean, that may be an incorrect way of saying it, but you know what I mean.
I'm with you. I'm with you, and it feels like those are the times when the government steps in and puts their nose in business where maybe it otherwise doesn't belong. Maybe
That's
it
right.
does belong.
Yep.
But that leads me into that's a great segue that you mentioned that, Dave, because I've got a new topic for you, and I want to get your
Okay.
thoughts and opinions.
Okay.
And
Let me get
everybody
ready.
knows, stretch out a little bit. Everybody knows here on
Ready.
Intangible Commerce, we try to stay pretty politically neutral. Dave and I sit on somewhat similar sides of the fence in some regard and very different on other regard. So we want everybody's opinion and we value everybody's opinion. That being said, I want to get Dave's thought on this. So AI companies, they're talking about Amazon, Google, Meta, and a few others, OpenAI, whatever it's called, Motion AI, I forget.
Hmm.
7 of the leading AI companies were called to the White House in one fashion or another. And effectively, the way the New York Times puts it is they were pressured by Biden to agree to guardrails on new AI tools. Now, when I say that, Dave, what I want to get your opinion on is effectively the Biden administration has said, Dave, you're an AI company. I want you to self regulate the AI tools. What
Hmm.
what is that? What's your knee jerk on that one?
So my initial reaction goes to I hate anytime the federal government tries to have what I would consider any type of overreach into a private business, especially when it's technology driven and a technology that needs the input of private sector to grow and
Right.
have all these things we need, because it scares me to think that at some point they will get involved in it and turn it into something that is government controlled versus a true private business ran, entity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for me it feels like BS. It's like,
Hmm.
hey, we're not going to legislate this because hey, we don't know how yet. Even if we did legislate it, we couldn't back that up with anything. So they just basically come in and say, we have to be clear and vigilant about, and this is a quote, about the threats emerging from emerging technologies that can pose, don't today, but can pose threats to our democracy and values.
I think,
Okay,
I mean, yeah, that sounds like a song and dance that we've all heard before. I don't even have to
time and
mention
time
names
again.
of companies and things that happened that were regulated that way. It scares me anytime that happens, because we have to, that's where, to me, government needs to stay in its lane. There is a spot for it to maybe help in some areas, but a lot of times, if you think about major items that have happened over the course of time, usually are all driven by private sector
Hmm.
because there's less red tape. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the red tape and bureaucracy that's been put in place, you'd have to look at it from a different perspective, I think, in today's world, because there are laws that got introduced. And I'll give you an example. Back in 1933, there's a three-tier system of hierarchy for requiring producers who sell and distribute alcohol to go through these different tiers of controls, which is directly reducing our ability to sell alcohol online in an e-commerce setting, which is actually costing the U.S. economy billions of dollars in
Hmm.
in in tax opportunity through the sale of alcohol online. Uh, Roughly, some experts put it at about $34.2 billion is what
Wow.
that industry could be worth.
Wow. That's amazing.
Significant, significant.
And
But
and,
again,
and
it's like you said, it's government getting in where they don't belong, or not
right.
having the forethought to update and change mandates and old laws that just don't make any sense anymore.
Well, and keep in mind too that it's the same government that over the years can't figure out how to use technology itself, and
That's true.
and overpays for everything it does because government contracts themselves are so horrible. They're just
Vague.
horrible. They're just horrible. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, they're and so I look at the whole system of that and think, why? How do I even trust you? You know, how much stuff do you have that you're doing that I don't know about? Which is one thing, but the second thing is the way they conduct themselves. I just hate when they get involved in stuff like that and try to regulate it.
Absolutely.
I don't even know what the word regulate means to them, because when you regulate something, it's private. I mean, you should be able, people are doing what they're going to do, and I just don't think that was probably was the right move. And again, I'll say it. We've been down that path before. The whole Twitter thing proved
Oh
to
yeah.
us. Remember, that proves to us that I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. That's not right. And
Hmm.
people have to wake up and understand that we need to. Yeah, I just this technology things. I love these conversations too, because these is what's going to be driving when our kids are running, businesses, doing what we do or
Yeah.
whatever they end up doing. They'll use this technology, and so I'd rather it be
Absolutely.
uncontrolled like that.
Well, and CEO and founder of the e-commerce platform Drinks, Zach Brandenburg, of course, has been the most outspoken in this. There was a article he did on payments. If anybody's never been over there, pymnts.com. Great source for e-commerce news. He's got a quote here, and I really love this because I think it frames it well. He says, "It's a joke, if you will, that we've been that we've been making for years, that it's easier to buy a car online than it is to buy alcohol."
Mm,
And that's kind of
mm,
interesting
mm-hmm.
because if you go back to a couple episodes ago where we were talking about fraud online and how I found that car that was like clearly not a $10,000 car, it was like a $60,000 car that somebody was trying to sell online for 10 grand. It's way easier to create fraud and BS online than it is to buy a beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just seems silly to me.
It does. I mean, it is very weird, and I've never even really thought about the fact of why you can't purchase, alcohol online. There has to be some reasons they put behind it at one point to say, well, this by doing this, it will not do this. But in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I can't figure out what that might be, because you can buy tobacco products online, and if you could
Yeah,
argue the age thing, you still get it. I mean,
yeah.
maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe
You
there's
can
no way
buy
to really
weed
validate.
online.
Right. I mean, I
S-
don't. Yeah, I don't get it. There has to be
Some
something.
states that's considered a narcotic. You can go online right now and
Right.
buy weed,
Right.
get it delivered to your
Exactly.
door, delivered
Exactly.
by the federal government via USPS.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that? Where it says the UPS or not UPS, USPS delivers more drugs every year
Mm,
than all the drug dealers in America combined tenfold.
there you go. The federal government.
The federal government. But like you said, the technology not being put in place, and I tell you, I got my passport updated recently, and I went on there fully expecting there to be an online portal. I'm just getting it renewed. Right, that's
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Nothing special. I
Sure.
gotta send in the old book. They said whatever, easy. No online portal. I had to print out a document. I had to fill it out by hand. I had to go submit it and mail it. I couldn't even email it. There's not like an
Wow.
online portal to submit it to. I had
Wow.
to physically mail it. So we're still stuck in the 19th century when it comes to federal government and how we do things and how slow we are and inefficient we are. It's just crazy for me to think that that same entity is going to come in and, like you said, regulate emerging technologies that they
Technology.
don't
Yeah.
understand.
Right. That they can't even get to the point where we can do things as simple as renew a passport online.
Can't even do
Again,
that online.
maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's fraud. I don't know how. You would think there'd be checks and balances. I mean, you can file your taxes online. I mean, seems like it would
Right.
be that. See, that's the part I don't get. It's like, how do you let this guy do it, but not this one? And yeah, I don't know.
It
I'll,
just
I'll never understand that.
doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. Not
Nope.
at all.
Nope.
Not at all. What else do we have going on in your world, Dave? Anything fresh? Anything new? Did you get your car
Uh,
updated? How are we doing on your projects?
yeah, projects are good. It's been really hot here, so it's hard to. I am getting a. This is
Ooh, it's
interesting. I
been
am
hot.
getting. Oh, it's been real hot, but I'm getting a AC system put in my garage. A
Okay, let's talk about
dedicated,
that.
a dedicated. mini split system installed in my garage so I can keep the temperature in there whatever I want.
Oh, you're going with the mini split, eh?
Yeah, because you really can't add to your current one.
What
Yeah,
does
you're like,
that
going, I don't know
mean?
what that is.
I
Any
don't know what
car guy
that
with a
is.
garage knows exactly what that is. But no,
I'm an
it'll
ecom
make
guy.
it
I'm a software
right,
guy. I don't know what they're talking about right
right.
now.
But no, that's a big market right now, and it's funny how you watch these things. You watch how things take off, right? We all know that because we see it every day in our jobs. But
Hmm.
this is a big deal now. People buy these mini splits. They're pretty inexpensive. You can spend anywhere from a couple of grand, I'll call it, on average, to get one put in, and it's its own AC unit. Think of your home AC unit, but it doesn't have any ducts. Like it's just got a
Mm.
single thing that comes out of the wall that a big
Okay,
thing that
okay.
does the air. But it's everyone's doing them, and if you look online, they're everywhere. You can self-install. I'm not. Usually I would, but I know the guy. Remember the Seinfeld about knowing the guy? I know
You
a
know the
guy.
guy. You know a
I know a
guy.
guy. So, but yeah, so I am getting that done. So that's going to help a lot because the temperature, as I get older, it just gets so hot to be able to
Well,
do
it's
stuff.
miserable right now too. I know we're in a massive heat wave here in Louisville. I mean, it got almost 100 degrees yesterday, and it's
Mm-hmm.
going to get 100 apparently
Yep.
this week.
Yep.
And my poor kids are going back to school, and they're
Yep.
renovating it. So
Oh
part of the
boy.
school, the wall is just plastic. It's not
Mm-hmm.
even a wall. So all that heat and
Oh
humidity
yeah.
is just it was miserable in there yesterday when we did the open house thing.
Yep. I bet it was. But yeah, and then the other thing I've noticed, just if you want my general opinion on what's going on, is a lot of folks I know that have warehousing, like a 3PLs, have space. Some of them I know have space they're trying to go
Yeah.
find, and it's interesting to me that you hear about everybody. Oh, there's no space. It's like, well, actually, there is space. May depend on where they're located, but there's a lot of people looking for customers out there.
Absolutely. Well, and that follows a natural trend because if you remember about a year ago, it seemed like, and even still in today's world, every other conversation I'm talking to, they're moving warehouses. We're grown
Yes.
to a point. So everyone's getting that sort of hope of ecom growth is going to continue, and it should. I'm in the camp that it should. So they got these bigger spaces. Now they need
Mm-hmm.
to fill those bigger spaces. I've
Correct.
also seen where 3PLs are getting picky. They don't
Mm.
want, if your product's going to sit on a shelf, they're going to hire an LTL trucker to come haul it back to your doorstep.
Wow.
They
It's
don't want it.
interesting.
They don't want
Yeah.
it. You got 90 days to move this or it's gone. And some
Yeah.
folks say, I don't even want stuff that sits here for 30 days.
That's crazy. Which
Turn to
means they're
burn.
putting more of an emphasis. Yeah, they're putting more of an emphasis on the turns, and they want to make sure they
Yeah,
make their money on the shipments and the,
exactly.
get them in and out. Where back in the day, you might charge more. You wanted the storage, but I mean,
Yeah.
pallet storage is up. I mean, in certain areas, space is a premium, and you're going to pay for it.
Space is definitely a premium. You're definitely going to pay for that. And part of me wonders too, who out there is doing the split model? I don't know if we've got any 3PL listeners on this right now, but are you looking at building that new warehouse to handle the high volume, to handle the ecom, keeping the old warehouse to handle the storage? Where are we at? I wonder, from a product perspective, because obviously crunching the numbers, stuff that turns makes more money than stuff that sits. But stuff that
Mm-hmm.
sits now, because that space is becoming more limited,
Mm-hmm.
less people want to do it, that
Mm-hmm.
premium's going to go up.
That's right.
And why do we have stuff sitting around in that quantity anyway? Is it
I know.
because of COVID? Is it
It,
scare?
it's
Were they
possible.
scare buying?
It's very possible. In fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I was talking to a friend of mine who hopefully one day will be a customer of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we were talking last night late, and that the exact thing came up. And it's funny too because I said, "Hey, I know a place I want to interview you on." So I'm gonna have him come on. We'll have him come on the show here, and we can ask him those questions because
That'd be great.
he would know. I mean that and that is those are the people that are seeing that and experiencing that in all their conversations with their customers.
I think that'd be fantastic. I know there's plenty of folks listening, and I want to shout out. We have 150. The number grew since then, so welcome all the newcomers. But across
Mm-hmm.
all of our platforms, on LinkedIn, everywhere else that people can find the podcast, unique listeners, subscribers, the growth of this channel. wouldn't happen without you guys. Dave and I would eventually run out of things to say if we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have anybody to say it to. Believe it or not, we do stop talking every now
Not really, but okay, we'll go with that.
and then. Sometimes.
I always tell folks if it's 150, see, I'll tell folks that I have 150 new friends. So y'all are
New
all my friends.
friends. Yes, that
All my
that is
friends.
true. I
Hmm.
will take that moniker as well. Friends of the show.
Friends of the show.
That's fantastic. I would love to actually have that 3PL guy on here. So
Hmm.
for folks who are interested in that, I mean, I think it's a really interesting topic to get questions around. Um, not everybody comments on our posts and such, which is fine. But I think in this case, I'd like to know, and I just want to put the question out there for folks who are on, who are listening. What are the types of things that you want to ask a 3PL person, an expert in that industry?
Hmm.
Or maybe it's something you want verification on, something
Yeah.
you know, but you want to verify it. Or how do you handle that situation? We'd love to get that together so we can get our guests prepared ahead of that. Or we could just bomb them, pepper up with questions, and see what
Yeah.
happens. Maybe they
See what
maybe
all
they
they're yeah. See what all they'd be willing to share. I mean, it's fascinating to talk to the operators because they're the ones on the
yeah,
front lines. I mean, we get to talk to them in our daily jobs, but it's very very, you know, it's in a certain lane, right? We don't really get to we talk about their business, but not the aspect on the other side of the fence that we don't care about. So
absolutely. No, I'm with you there. I think that'd be great and a fantastic idea. Um, One update I do have, I've not been to a Costco yet, and I think I've kind of chose a number here. I think when we hit 1,000 total
I like it.
subscribers,
I like it.
I will live stream me going into a Costco. Now,
I would
for
love that.
those fanboys out there, I will have to admit, I've been to a GFS.
What is GFS?
Gordon Food Service. They have little outlet places here and there, and there's one near my town, and I was like, I wonder what's in here. So I went in.
Not a Costco.
Not a
Not a
Costco.
Costco.
Not a Costco. I have been to a Sam's Club. Are they the
That's like
same thing?
say that's
Same
like
thing?
saying that I've never really been in a Ferrari, but I drove the Toyota TRD. It's like, no, you haven't experienced anything
Until you've been in a Ferrari.
till you've been
So
in a
yeah,
Ferrari.
in my friends, I do have some friends who live in Canada. Shout out Canada, but they're surprised I haven't been to a Costco too. So this has been kind of a rolling joke for 10 years now. Ray's not been to a Costco. They say I'm allergic. I don't think I am. So 1,000 subscribers, and we'll find out if I break out in the hives or not with all those sweet deals.
It took me a long time to get on the Costco train. I never thought it was
Got
for
to get
me
on that
either.
bandwagon.
But here's the trick. Remember, it's not about the one time. It's about you have to go consistently because their inventory rotates.
Okay.
So what's the next thing you're going to see that you can't live without? Well, unless you go, you don't know. I just made that up. That
So
rhymed.
that's how they hook you. That's how they
That's
hook you.
exactly how they hook you, and you'll
They're
spend
moving
two or three
stuff.
hundred dollars each time you go because it's like, oh, I need that. Oh, I need that. Oh, I need that.
Okay. All right. So maybe we need to set this up like a challenge. I have to match your last Costco bill whenever I go, or something like
Hmm.
that. That'd be
We
kind
could
of
probably
fun,
do
wouldn't
that.
it?
And
So then
usually,
I
and
have
usually
to
mine aren't horrible, but yeah.
or I have to
Oh,
stay under that number,
yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll have to pick things. So we need a gamification on going on here, because otherwise I'll just go in there and spend a bunch of money for nothing. And everybody's gonna be bored watching me. But if it's like, hey, I got to figure out how am I
Hmm.
gonna make, because I want all this stuff. How do I fit $230 budget or whatever it was that you last
Yep.
spent? Let's
Yep.
do that. I think that'd be
Yep.
fun. So I think we've
Absolutely.
got that set then. The 1,000 subscribers, we will live stream the Costco episode where I have to stay within a certain budget from whatever percent. It
Hmm.
won't be
I
like
think
I'll
that would
walk
be
in and
good.
buy one thing.
I think that would be good. And once we get that one kind of done, then we can we'll work on another one. Maybe something I can do if I've never
Oh, we got to think of
experienced
that.
something,
We got to think of that.
something
Have
I could
you?
experience.
What is something that I'm going to put you on the spot? Right, this is what we do. Off the top of your head, what is something you haven't done that you've just never done, you never thought to do, or you wouldn't be
Man,
willing to do otherwise? Is there anything?
I don't know. I can't think of anything that's popular. Used to be it would be all about movies and stuff because I didn't used to go to movies very much, but I've started to go to a lot of movies now.
Okay, well, what about this? We'll have to have you go to like some movie that you absolutely
Go see
despise.
Barbie.
Go see Barbie, or just something like that you
Uh,
would never watch.
oh
Bambi
man,
Returns.
I did go see Oppenheimer, and I will both throw a shout out because that
Oh,
is a really good movie.
hey, I haven't seen it yet. Walk me through that. Now, I
It's
want
just
to
it's
let me
gonna
ask:
yeah. Go ahead.
do you see the actual, like, do they have a scene of Japan's side of this where you see that actually dropping, or that's not part of this?
No, think of it more like in the eyes of it, the development piece of it, which is
Okay.
cool
Okay.
because you'll learn a history that you didn't know. I mean,
Hmm.
there's some pieces of history there that I'm like, oh, I just assumed this, and while I can't spoil it, it's history, it's already
Yeah, yeah,
happened.
don't spoil it, right?
But well, you can't because it's history. But I'll just tell you that now it's long too. It's 3 hours long, but I will say I was glued the whole time, so it wasn't boring at all.
Everybody
It went
I've
by
I've
fast.
talked to said, dude, that movie went by so fast.
But keep in mind, go see it in either IMAX because Christopher Nolan filmed it in IMAX,
Yep.
or you need to go see it in 70 millimeter, which is sort of the same thing quality wise, or you need to at least go see it in a cinema. I like Cinemark. I'll plug Cinemark in their XD because that's got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
surround sound. Yeah,
Same
don't go anything less than that. But if you can go IMAX, go IMAX.
with the reclining seats and all that.
Yeah, well, the IMAX has the big screen. That's how it was filmed. But
Yeah.
the XD was good, and it is loud, but it is awesome. I thought it
So
was
there
cool.
is an IMAX XD theater Cinemark has here locally. They call their Xscape
Yep,
theaters.
and good luck because I tried to go and it was booked out for the next almost month or 3 weeks.
I'm seeing that as well. So I might have to get my tickets for the late showing tonight, and I'll show up early tomorrow morning. Oh man, that was a good
I
movie.
know. Yeah, it's been booked out pretty good. Do you know that I got a little fact here for you? There's only 19 IMAX theaters in the whole U.S.
Is that right?
That's what I read.
Wow.
True
Wow.
IMAX.
True
We have one here in
IMAX.
Dallas. We have one in Dallas.
Well, Dallas is everything, and it's always bigger in Texas, and that's
That's
how we
right.
like it. We're going to
Our
keep it that
IMAX is
way.
a little bit bigger than everybody
Is
else's.
the IMAX is 30 feet. Ours is 30.5.
30.28.
0.28.
You
uh,
did hear that really happened though, right? We did have a battle that went on with the size of the TVs inside of our stadiums, the screens.
no, I
So
don't know about
Jerry
this.
at the Cowboys, I believe this is accurate, built a giant screen when they built the AT&T Stadium, and it
Right.
was supposed to be the largest in the world or largest in the U.S. or whatever. And then one of the NASCAR tracks over in North Carolina, built theirs, and it was bigger by a little bit. And then when they redid the Texas Motor Speedway, they made it just that much bigger. So now it was the biggest.
Wow.
And I'm sure since then somebody else has made one bigger, but
Leave it
because they
to
want that claim,
Americans. Got to
they
have
want
the
that
biggest
claim to fame.
TV. Got to
Yep,
have the biggest TV.
that's right.
And speaking of claim to fame, we appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of Intangible Commerce. Again, thank you all to our beautiful subscribers and listening to Dave and I ramble about all this e-com stuff and nonsense going on with fake government controls.
That's right. That is exactly right.
And on that note, Dave, send them away.
See you next time on Intangible Commerce.
E-com away. Bye, everybody.